play tonight on ESPN, the Suns and the Lakers. Who are you higher on in the West? Chiney, you take it first.
We know who the Los Angeles Lakers are. If you think about the Suns, though, we're just now discovering how good they can be. I am very high on Tyus Jones coming and helping alleviate the point guard position. The biggest issue for the Phoenix Suns was their clutch time last year. They were 30th, NBA's 30 teams, in clutch time points per game. They were 27th in turnover percentage in the fourth quarter. What did we see when they played in the fourth quarter and overtime? They showed up. They showed out. KD was huge. Bradley Beal, he was 8 for 12. I believe he scored like 7 points in overtime. Those are the guys you have to watch down the stretch. So when I'm looking at the Phoenix Suns, I feel like their upside, we're just now starting to scratch the surface. They didn't have a full training camp. Their big three didn't really have the continuity to start the year.
Right.
There was some confusion. There were some changes. Now you alleviate that point guard position. Clutch time you saw when it mattered most. That's what's going to win them games. Last year, they would have lost that game. This year, they won.
Well, they got Budenholzer now. They got Budenholzer. So, and they got Tyus Jones, like you pointed out, because I think they got a real point guard, as opposed to somebody that plays, is really a shooting guard, but playing the point guard position, because you needed to have Beal and obviously Devin Booker out there together. I can understand that. But I want to bring this up, because I don't know if y'all missed this or not. I commented yesterday about KD, Kevin Durant, and the greatness is not to be disputed. One of the all-time greats, no doubt. But the intangibles, bring into question leadership, all this other stuff. Well, the brother took the liberty to tweet at me yesterday rather. And he said, I would disagree, Stephen A. I would argue passionately that my intangibles have always been on par with my talent. And I responded by saying I would argue passionately that very little compares to your obvious greatness as a talent, including those intangibles. Why do I bring that up right now? Because that's what it's going to take for Phoenix to upend Dallas and Oklahoma City or anybody, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's Denver. It's going to be those intangibles. We don't look at the Phoenix Suns and view a team bereft of talent. We don't view them. You don't look at a Bradley Beal or a Devin Booker and question their ability to put the ball in the hole and how prolific they can be as an offense. We don't look at that. What we look at is your blew fourth quarter leads on a number of occasions. You lost the double-digit lead against the Clippers on opening night before you ended up winning in overtime without Kawhi Leonard there and no Paul George anymore. And you have to look at Phoenix and say to yourself, who's going to step up and be able to peel out of everybody what they got to bring to the table? Because that's what it's going to take.
Questioning whether Kevin Durant has that quality to get them over the edge to win against the best of the best?
I'm saying to get it out of others. I have no questions about what Kevin Durant, the individual, can do on the court. Oh, please. He's elite. There's nothing to question about Kevin Durant, the hooper. I'm saying, do you have what it takes to peel out from the others around you in order to beat the teams that we mentioned? Because that's what it's going to take. We've seen the greatness of Kevin Durant. Still didn't stop him from getting swept 2 of the last 3 years in Brooklyn and in Phoenix. Still didn't stop him. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I will say this. Look, I was there the other night for that game, and we had him mic'd up, and we got to hear a lot of stuff that maybe didn't go out over the broadcast.
Sure.
And some of it did, but there was a lot more there.
Okay.
And it was one of the most vocal games I've seen Kevin Durant have. And I'm talking about the little detailed conversations he's having with role players on the bench. And to me, maybe Kevin Durant's done that his entire career, and he's not been mic'd up that much to really let you inside that. I thought that was a breath of fresh air to see him taking more responsibility with this team. Here's what I noticed about this Phoenix Suns team, and last year I felt like the narrative coming out of my mouth and a lot of people, I felt like every time I talked about the Suns, I was saying words like disappointing and underachieving, and I was questioning everything, and I never really took them serious as a threat in the West. There's an air about the team that's totally different. Yeah. The spirit is different.
Okay.
And it's top to bottom. The top talent, the role players, the head coach, the respect they have for him. We talked about Tyus Jones. I could talk all day about what he brings to the table. They plugged other holes. I mean, Mason Plumlee is an upgrade at that spot, which adds depth. The rookie they got, Ryan Dunn, they had him guarding James Harden in that game for stretches.
That's right.
Now, he's a long way offensively, but I'm saying he's another guy will be in their rotation. Monte Morris to go with Tyus Jones. 2 guys that take care of the ball better than anybody in the league at that spot.
Yeah.
I take this team seriously now. They're in the mix. They are a threat in the Western Conference.
And I think we had these same criticisms of the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm not saying that this Phoenix Suns squad is the same, but when we talked about Jason Tatum showing up in the biggest moments or Jaylen Brown showing up in the biggest moments, a lot of times we're like, we have these great expectations of this one guy the same way you're putting great expectations on Kevin Durant. To me, that's not necessarily the DNA of those types of hoopers. Those guys are very similar. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. They go out there, you roll the ball up, and they can give you 25 points a game.
Okay.
To me, what made the Celtics great is what will make the Phoenix Suns great. Not saying that their upside is the same, but they rely on each other. One thing people slept on, Devin Booker, I think he had 6 assists yesterday.
Right.
Like, those are the types of contributions that you're going to get from your stars so that they can win the games that they lost.
Well, I would say this to you. Number one, when we all talked about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that was years ago when they weren't winning. We weren't saying that about them last year. We were saying they got to close now. They got to close.
People put a lot of expectations on Jason Tatum.
No, the expectations were on them last year, but I'm saying the years before was when we were convinced it wouldn't work. Okay? That wasn't the case last year. And in the case of Kevin Durant, again, you won when you were in Golden State. You didn't win in Brooklyn. You didn't win in OKC. You're in Phoenix. You got swept last year by Minnesota. You got swept 2 of the last 3 years. You got to answer that call. You got to answer that call.
Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. The CDA over here,